It's late September and it's winemaking time. So Italians want to use grapes in whatever they have. So I've got here today a Schiacciata con l'uva, which is simply a sweet focaccia with seedless black grapes. So in the bowl we have 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. To that we're going to add 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. We're going to whisk that together. So those are our dry ingredients. We're going to make a little well in the middle. And I'm switching to a spatula. I'm adding 1 1/2 cups of lukewarm water. A 1/2 cup of sweet wine, such as a passito, preferably white if you can find it. 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil or virgin olive oil. Let's get the last bit out there. You're going to give that a little mix. Okay, once the yeast is starting to get mixed in, we want to add the salt away from the yeast. That's a very typical Italian thing, to never add the salt and yeast together. So now we're going to incorporate that. And you're going to have a very wet dough. You can get your hand in there if you want, or just mix it all up with a wooden spoon or a spatula till it's well mixed. You can see I'm scraping down the sides and mixing till it's all incorporated. I can smell that beautiful sweet wine in there. Okay, it's all incorporated. We're going to cover that with a piece of plastic wrap, and we are going to let that sit and double in size approximately for about 1/2 hour. So let's clean off our spatula. And let that rest for a 1/2 hour. Okay, after a 1/2 hour, take your cookie sheet, cover it with parchment, and generously brush olive oil onto the parchment. You could use your hands as well. So you've got your 4 tablespoons of olive oil here. So you're going to use almost half of it for this portion, and the rest is going to go on top. So let's do that. Then we're going to spread that dough that's now rested on to the parchment paper. It's still going to be really wet. You can still smell that beautiful wine. Okay, you're going to get some oil on your hands now and pat it out, adding more oil as necessary. So pat this out only as much as you would like, depending on how thick you'd like it. So I like to do an oval shape. You can manipulate the shape a little bit just by using your oiled hands. Okay, so if you were to make it the entire size of the pan, it would be much thinner. I like it a little bit thicker. So this is a standard cookie sheet, and you can see I'm leaving about a good 2 or 3 inches on the ends and a couple of inches, maybe not quite on the top and bottom, more on the ends I'm leaving. Okay, so it's nice and fluffy. You want to do the classic dimples of a focaccia or schiacciata in this case. And if you need to add a little bit more olive oil, you can do that, just so the plastic wrap doesn't stick. I've still got quite a bit of olive oil on here, so I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to pop in my grapes. So these are black seedless grapes. And I've taken them off the stem. There's probably about, for a focaccia this size, I probably have about 2 cups. You can use as many or as few as you like. I like a lot because they will caramelize a little on there and add a nice sweetness. This is a sweet bread, It's not super sweet like a dessert. It's just got a little bit of sweetness to it. You might enjoy this at the end of a meal with a little glass of that same sweet dessert wine that you used in it, maybe with a piece of cheese even, or on its own. Okay, add as many as you like, and then we're going to cover this again with plastic wrap and let it rise around our little grapes here for about 30 minutes. So you may want to start to preheat your oven about 20 minutes before that time is up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see that I'm adding lots. That's about 2 cups. And there we go. So let's cover that up with plastic wrap. We'll just leave it here at room temperature for another half hour and we'll preheat our oven. Okay, here we are back after a half hour. You can see the dough has risen nicely around the grapes. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've positioned the middle rack. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in with more olive oil and we're going to generously brush this on both the focaccia dough and the grapes. That's so they don't burn. Okay, now if you like a mix of sweet and savory, you can actually add some fresh rosemary to this. And I know it doesn't sound like it should belong there, but that is one of the traditional herbs used with this particular recipe. But if you don't want to, don't add it. So I've got some fresh herbs here, fresh rosemary that I've already washed. If you go against the grain like that, you can remove them. I just pulled those right out of my garden. They smell amazing. I'm going to put those on, and then we're going to finish with some coarse raw sugar on there as well. So doesn't it look beautiful? Okay, so I've got some coarse raw sugar here, and that will also caramelize, and then that is going to add a nice sweetness. So we got a little bit of sweetness in the dough and a little bit more on top. So probably 1 or 2 tablespoons of the sugar would be plenty. Now we're going to pop this in our 400-degree oven that's been preheated on the middle rack. And depending on how thick it is, it may take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes to fully cook. But if you're not sure, a little trick I like to use when I'm cooking bread is to pop my thermometer into the thickest part in the middle after it's been in there for the minimum time, so in this case 30 minutes, and it should be 208 degrees Fahrenheit or slightly hotter in order for it to be fully cooked, because you don't want to pull that out before the middle is cooked. So in the oven this goes. And here you have it, 30 minutes later at 400 degrees Fahrenheit in the middle rack. And then I just popped it on broil for 2 minutes just to get some of those grapes to pop. And you can see they've kind of oozed out. And yes, this is as delicious as it looks. Ciao for now.